live. This is Law Call.
Hey, and welcome to Law Call tonight. I'm attorney Chris Young with the law firm of Perry & Young, and we've got a great show on tap for you tonight. Phone lines are open, so if you have any type of legal question, anything about injuries, feel free to give us a call, 850-392-1544, or you can always email us at lawcall@wmbb.com in the event that you do not want to go on the air. Les can kind of be a little intimidating, so if you want to email us your questions, I would do that. But anyways, I got one of my great friends, closest friends here, and he just happens to be my law partner too, Les McFadder. Thanks for coming on. Hey, yeah. Hey everybody, not me.
Hey everybody.
Yeah,
howdy y'all.
There we go. So Les, we're talking all about injuries tonight. We can jump into whatever you want to talk about. Car accidents, dental malpractice.
There seems to be quite a bit of that.
Slip and falls. It's rampant right now. But one of the things that we do see, especially this time of year, we're coming out of spring break. It's real prevalent in spring break. A lot of people are on the roads, but now a lot of people are on the roads for Thanksgiving.
For holiday travel.
For holiday travel. Mm-hmm. And so, I think of all the chaos, we talk about it every time we have an injury show, is make sure that you've got sufficient insurance coverage because you're going to be on the road, and make sure that you just, that you know what you have and know what you've paid for, because if you're traveling out of state, does your insurance apply? If you're traveling with someone else in someone else's vehicle, does your insurance apply? And so, I know it's the last thing that you're probably thinking about right now, getting ready for Turkey Day and being with family and so forth and so on. But man, making sure that you're on the road and protected is also a little bit of peace of mind as well.
Absolutely. And Thanksgiving is widely thought to be the most heavily traveled holiday of the year. Especially, with the economy being down the past few years, people drive a lot more than they do fly, so there's a lot more cars on the road. And Chris is right. I mean, you don't really think about insurance going into a holiday, but it's when that one uneventful thing happens that you suddenly have to think about it, and what do you do if you're not properly covered? And Florida is kind of unique in that regard, since we're the only state in the country that doesn't require.
But we're special, though.
We're the only state that doesn't require a person to carry insurance to cover a bodily injury that they may cause.
So let's stop right there. Right. And I know the last thing that anybody's thinking about this upcoming week is, hey, let me call my insurance agent and see if I've got proper insurance, okay? Right. But at least let's take the time to explain why Florida is so much different than any other state. And even though you may have coverage that you think applies to you, you may not have really good coverage at all.
Right.
So how are we different? Not why, we know why, but how are we different than other states?
It's kind of it's like a legal nerd type of a question scenario, but basically you got to go back to 1972 when the Florida legislature decided that we were going to be what's called a no-fault state. And people throw that term around, no fault. No fault means that I can't sue somebody, or no fault means that nobody can be sued, and that's not what it means at all. So Florida switched the insurance scheme back in the 70s to make it to where if you were involved in a wreck, they wanted to make sure you had enough medical coverage to pay for any injuries you might suffer, even whether you were at fault or not at fault. Right. And that's why they call it no-fault insurance. And it's really personal injury protection, PIP insurance is the phrase we use, but they replaced the fault-based system to a no-fault-based system, specifically to coverage for injuries due to motor vehicle wrecks.
And they gave you a whopping $10,000 back in the 70s, which is, my Lord, that covered you for most of your injuries.
It probably would back in the 70s.
Unfortunately.
But, guess what's happened to the cost of medical care over the last 5 decades? It's grown exponentially, but we still have that same $10,000 policy limit for medical bills. Right. And so one trip to the ER, one CT scan, one review by a radiologist, and you see the ER doctor, next thing you know, you walk out of the hospital with a $12,000, $13,000, $14,000 bill just for that one visit, and that PIP is gone.
Les, we've seen bills if someone is in a catastrophic accident, if a helicopter comes in, I mean, those get into the $50,000, $60,000, $70,000.
More than that. Right? I've seen bills coming out of the ERs around here. They go in especially if it's a serious injury, catastrophic. Yeah. Well, the air ambulance is ridiculous. Yeah. I mean, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 right off the bat. But even going in, if you say, look, my head hurts, my back hurts, my neck hurts, and they end up doing 3 or 4 of these CT scans, it's not uncommon to see these bills coming out in the $30,000, $40,000 range just because of what the hospitals charge for those tests. Now, it can run out really quick. And so what happens if you get hit by somebody that doesn't have that insurance because, you have PIP and you're kind of left holding the bag? What do you do then?
that's when you're supposed to look at your own policies if you have uninsured motorists, right?
Right.
But where we're different is, other states require you to have some type of bodily injury protection,
Right.
and we don't. So, like you say, Les, when somebody hits you in the state of Florida, they may not even have bodily injury coverage, even the bare bone minimums to help you, and then you're going to be stuck with your PIP insurance. Well, thankfully, Florida requires you, when you sign your insurance contract, and it's so important that they actually make you sign a document waiving this coverage, then it's called uninsured or underinsured motorist coverage protection.
Yeah.
And that's where it really plays a big benefit, because it protects you, protects your spouse, your family. If you're in your own car, if you're in someone else's vehicle, it applies. If you're out of state. So, the last thing I know that it seems kind of odd, we talk about it because we eat and breathe insurance all the time, is, make sure that you have the proper coverages and you don't realize it after the fact.
Well, and one of the things, and I've talked about it before on this show, but never underestimate the value of having a good insurance agent. I don't mean calling somebody on the phone, going online. You can do that. But what do most people do when they go in and looking at buying something as boring as insurance? What's the cheapest I need to be legal? Well, if you go that route,
things are so expensive now.
Yeah, well, yeah, but if you go that route, you're going to get what you pay for, and you're going to get $10,000 of property damage coverage that isn't going to pay for a car if you hit it really hard, and you're going to get $10,000 of PIP insurance, which is going to be gone with one trip to the ER. So I would encourage folks, go talk to a local agent. We've got some really good local agents, insurance professionals that can walk you through what each layer of coverage means. And one of the things that they're going to talk to you about is uninsured motorist coverage. And if you think about it statistically, if you get involved in a wreck in Bay County, you have a higher chance of being hit by somebody that doesn't have any insurance or has the very bare minimum insurance, meaning that you're going to be left to yourself to pay for your medical expenses, cover you for your lost wages, things of that nature. And if you don't have good health insurance, if you don't have uninsured motorist coverage, that's how people end up, going, having to file for bankruptcy.
Right.
There's some really bad things that can happen if you don't protect yourself. So,
phone lines are open. If you got a question about anything about injury related or insurance related, give us a call, 850-392-1544. You can always email us at lawcall@wmbb.com. Now, Les,
I think we actually had an email come through.
Okay.
Little birdie told me. There it
Okay,
is.
we can get it right now. You're talking about insurance. Can you explain if I should stack my insurance? Jethro, that is an amazing question, because absolutely that's on the dovetails of
uninsured motorist. So stacking, what is stacking? If you buy uninsured motorist coverage, you'll have the option of either buying stacking or non-stacking. So think of it this way. Stacking is a way of multiplying your coverage to increase your limits. So if you have a $25,000 uninsured motorist policy, but you have 3 vehicles in the household, you can stack those policies one on top of the other. So now if you're involved in a wreck and you have uninsured motorist coverage, you don't just have $25,000, you have $25,000 stacked times 3. So, if you have multiple vehicles, stacking can be a good way to increase your coverage. If you only have one vehicle though, you can use that policy to stack it on other coverage that may be available. So you're in that friend's vehicle, they get involved, you're in their car, as a passenger, you can stack your coverage on top of their coverage as well. So it really can be beneficial. And the difference in premiums, again, that's something you want to talk to your insurance agent about, but the difference in premiums is pretty negligible when you look at those sorts of things. So I would really
benefit of the benefit that you get in return for that.
Exactly.
And so by all means, when you get uninsured motorists, and like I say, it's so important in the state of Florida that they make you sign a document rejecting that.
It's required. It's actually required by Florida law, so you have to specifically reject it.
Right.
And
so if you don't sign that document, unless we've had cases to where the insurance companies didn't properly document their files and they didn't get the insured to sign that waiver, even though they never even paid for it, it matches whatever bodily limits that they have.
We've been able to force place that type of coverage when the insurance company didn't have the proper paperwork. One of the things I've seen that is kind of a disturbing trend, I believe, and it's something that I hope some of the higher ups and the regulators take a look at, but I think a lot of these insurance companies that sell their policies online, they will default the person to sign the waiver.
Yeah.
Florida law says you're supposed to have it. You're supposed to knowingly reject it by signing away your rights to have an uninsured motorist coverage. But I think you go and buy your policy online, you go through the different steps, click here, electronically sign here, they'll default it to you rejecting that coverage. So you got to be very careful what it is that you're reading, and it's just another reason to go and talk to a local agent versus trying to figure it out online if you don't do this sort of thing every day.
Because you said knowingly. I mean, knowingly is understanding your options.
Right.
Not just going on there trying to find the best coverage is available. Phone lines are still open, 850-392-1544. You can always email us at lawcall@wmbb.com. We're going to take our first break of the evening. We'll be back in just a moment. Hey, welcome back to Law Call. Chris Young with the law firm of Perry & Young. I got my law partner with me tonight, Les McFadder. Phone lines are open, 850-392-1544. You can always email us at lawcall@mbb.com. All about entries, Les. I do believe we have an email question from Shannon that came through during the break. Guys, if we put that up. See, neighbor was having a campfire in his backyard. We were all sitting around it when he threw a big log on it to keep it going. This caused a hot coal to jump out onto my lower leg and caught my pants on fire for a minute. I have a large oozing burn that I had to get treated in the ER, and I'm going to the doctor about it on Tuesday. Should my neighbor have to pay for this? He says it was an accident and is acting weird. Shannon. Well, accidents are negligent too.
They can be, yeah. Cause you think about what is negligence. Negligence is the failure to do what a reasonable person would do in similar circumstances. And so the question you have to ask yourself, is it reasonable for somebody to go and throw a log on the fire? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, you go and you set it down and something happens, as long as you're acting okay, but if you're back over here and you're shot putting it into the fire and it comes out.
If you got people around it too,
you got people around. Yeah, you've got to exercise, caution and care. And so if there's any evidence that he was fooling around and did something, then there absolutely could be a claim there. But then it kind of shifts to, all right, well, how do I get the money out of him? And there's a couple of different ways in that scenario. The first one would be, if it happened it sounded like she said it happened at somebody's house.
Neighbor's house, yes.
At the neighbor's house, oftentimes under a homeowner's policy, there's a type of coverage that is typically included in most homeowners policies called MedPay. And MedPay is kind of like PIP in the automobile world, but it goes to homeowners. It's available to you regardless of fault. And so if you have an injury on their property, if they have this MedPay coverage, that is coverage that could be used to help pay for those bills. Other than that, you're probably looking to have to file a lawsuit to recover that money, and whether or not there would be insurance coverage, it would really just depend on the facts, but it might be a situation where you'd have to pull it out of your buddy personally, and that's probably why he's acting weird. I mean,
You mean beat it out of him or pull it out of him?
You do it legally. You file a lawsuit, you do your discovery, you get your judgment.
But Les, burns are very serious, obviously.
Absolutely.
And not making light of that at all. Typically, hopefully this was not just a rental unit. Maybe that person actually did own the property and actually had some type of homeowner's policy. But, those policies are built to protect somebody like the MedPay going forward.
Right.
But I could totally envision sitting around a campfire and someone throwing it on there and being a little reckless, knowing that he's going to expect that some type of ash is going to ooze over. Well, what do you do then? And then you file your claim, and then if they deny your policy or deny the claim, then you're going to be stuck with making a decision. Do you sue your neighbor, your friend, because you're going to have to file a lawsuit to protect yourself?
Probably so. And in that situation, we talk about filing lawsuits all the time, representing people that have been injured. But if anybody out there has ever been on the receiving end of that, what are you supposed to do when you have a claim filed against you? And really, the first thing you do is you need to notify your insurance company, because your insurance policy is a contract. The contract says if something happens, we will protect you, we will defend you, we will indemnify you. But you've got to put them on notice, and so people get suit papers. The worst thing you can do is ignore them.
Right.
You ignore them, you throw them away. I'm not going to deal with this. That's a ridiculous claim. It was an accident. Nobody meant to get. Nobody intended to hurt anybody. It has nothing to do with intent. It has to do with, again, the negligence. But if you just ignore it, next thing you know, you're going to have a judgment against you, and you're not going to be able to set that thing aside. So you call your insurance company, you say, hey, listen, I got these suit papers. You turn it over to them, and if there's coverage for the incident, they will hire a lawyer for you. They will pay that lawyer for you. They will pay a judgment up to your policy limits, or they will pay to settle the case up to your policy limits. And all you have to do is just cooperate. And for the cooperation side of it, it's letting them know about it. And then if they call and ask you questions, hey, you need to fill out some of this paperwork, we need to ask you some questions, you cooperate. That's it. That's all you do.
But by all means, don't play lawyer. Don't try to be the judge, jury, and executioner of this and say, well, I did not intend to injure them, and I'm not going to let them report that to my homeowner's policy. Even if you don't even think you have coverage on that policy, Les, we've seen insurance companies step up and defend a homeowner under a reservation of rights, even though there may not be coverage there until they hash out some of the facts to better determine that. So by all means, if you are served with any type of lawsuit, turning over to your insurance company, let them be the decision makers, because if you mess up, it could cost you a lot of money. If they messed up and it cost them a lot of money, they've got a lot of money to pay for that.
That's exactly right.
So I'm sorry, we have a caller on the line, Carrie from Cottondale. Go ahead with your question, please. Carrie, go ahead. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Go ahead with your question.
Well, I don't know exactly what question I need to ask, but I was wondering if I could get some advice.
Okay.
About 5 years ago, I had a medication prescribed to me, and it has pretty much ruined my eyesight.
Okay.
I'm having a lot of problems with it, and I don't know what I should do about it, if I should go a legal way or not.
Carrie, when did you first start noticing those symptoms and the side effects of your vision going out because of the medication?
Day 10. I only took it 9 times.
Okay. So, in that situation, you're talking about a side effect of a pharmaceutical product. You'd have to look at the paperwork, the literature on the drug itself to see if this is a known or a known side effect. If you ever watch those pharmaceutical commercials and they have that long legal disclaimer at the end, and the guy's talking 90 miles an hour about all the things that you could have, if it's a known risk of the medication, that could present a problem. But honestly, Carrie, your biggest problem is that you're talking about something that was prescribed to you 5 years ago, and you first started noticing those problems from the drug 10 days after the fact. In Florida, if you're dealing with medical malpractice or a defective product, medical malpractice, things like that, that has a 2-year statute of limitations. A negligence action has a 4-year statute of limitations. This being a dangerous drug, you might have waited too long to do something about it. However, if there's ongoing litigation, if you're not the only person that has been dealing with this, there may be a class action out there. There may be some class certification you can get involved in. I would probably do a little bit of research on the drug itself to see if there's anything out there. But my big concern is that you may have waited a little bit too long.
Yeah. Carrie, thank you for your call. Phone lines are still open, 850-392-1544. You can always email us at lawcall@wmbb.com. You got Les and Chris show tonight. We're going to take our second break of the evening, and we'll be back in just a moment. and welcome back to Law Call tonight. We're talking all about injuries, and I think we do have a caller that just called in while we're on break. So, caller, go ahead with your question.
Yes, sir. This is Neil Rock Rivers. When I was younger, I was playing basketball in Grand Ridge, and I broke somebody's ankle. I think his name was Chris Young. You familiar with that?
I am familiar with that.
So, is that my fault? Just because I crossed him over real good, or is that his fault?
That's going to be your fault, Neil.
Neil, I think,
and I'm gonna talk to Les about that because I think the statute of limitations don't even apply to that, Les.
I don't know, Neil. You know, I'm thinking about this, and if it depends on if Chris made you do it. I mean, sometimes he has that ability to.
I'm very good at making people.
He's very influential on
Yeah.
people, and if you succumb to some of his charm, and as a result you crossed him up, I mean that might be. But then again, you know, I think you might want to talk to a lawyer. Right? Chris might have some pretty good insurance. We might want to take a look at his policy, see if he's got some coverage to fix you up.
No.
Well,
He's claiming he broke my ankles. He's claiming he broke my ankles.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I broke his ankle, Les.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
know you're an expert on this, Les, because I know your son is an excellent basketball
listen,
player.
listen.
I follow him on Facebook.
Oh,
But-
that is true. That is true. I misunderstood you, Neil. Well, Chris, do we need to go after Neil then?
I would love to go after Neil Rivers.
I think we should.
Hey, Neil, can you provide our producer with your current mailing address so we can draft up some documents and some nice little letters, and we'll send them to you tomorrow?
And I'm gonna need an affidavit of assets as well, Neil.
Affidavit.
Well, but here's the thing about it, though, Les. We had someone call in earlier and talking about assets and disclosing your assets and stuff. If they're an employee and they don't pay attention to their boss, the boss tells them what to do, and he refuses to listen to the boss, does that boss have any action to fire him?
I think you probably could. You know, in the state of Florida, you can terminate somebody for any reason as long as it's not an illegal one.
Okay.
You know, obviously you can't fire somebody for their gender, their race, their religion, things of that nature. But if they're just being insubordinate and churlish, you can absolutely terminate them for sure.
Would you report them to anybody?
Oh, absolutely. HR, baby.
Okay. Well, we have a.
That wouldn't have anything to do with the caller we just had.
No,
would it?
yeah, well, it was because I have a friend that owns a golf cart company, and he texted me earlier in the show, and I'm not sure if he's talking about Neil being insubordinate or if it was just him.
The plot.
So, anyways,
thickens.
there's a lot of behind the scenes. Everybody's watching the show like, what in the world's going on out here? We've kind of jumped off the cliff here.
What rabbit trail did we just run down?
Yeah, right. So, we got 3 minutes into the show, Les, and we're going to do some shout outs real quickly, and then we got a little special at the end there to let everybody know about a new service that's being provided in Bay County.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll go ahead and start with the shout outs.
Take your time. We got about 2.5 minutes.
I want to give a special shout out to my friend Pam Myers. Pam, I hope you're watching. I hope you're feeling better and you're feeling better soon. I want to give a shout out to my neighbor Tanya De Benedictus, the big 5-0. Happy birthday today.
Tanya.
My mom and dad are watching. My sister and her husband Dan and my nephew Joseph are up from Tampa for Thanksgiving, so I think they're watching tonight. Shout out to them. My wife, my daughter, my son Eli, and his beautiful girlfriend Bennett. They're watching the show as well.
I thought they were going to come up here, though.
I tried to get them to come up here, but they wouldn't.
Eli,
I know,
come on, man.
I know. My man Rick at the Marlin, G Money, Gary Starr's in the house watching us as well. And I want to give a special shout out and also a belated birthday to our good friend Paul Davis.
Yep, there you go.
Paul, was he 23? He's a youngin'.
He's a little older than that, but
Yeah.
he might push 27.
By experience.
Yeah.
Right.
So I've got Ashley watching and Boss Man. Well, actually, they probably were sleeping. My mom, Trace, Judy Smith, Paula Frederick. I'm going to have to give a shout out to Gary Starr, too, because he just can't have one of the team give it.
I know.
It's got to be. And Ted says, give you a shout out, too. And Larry, too, Sure. And then I'm going to say Rick from the Marlin, too. And we both are saying happy birthday to Pam Perry.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then we've got a little special here, a new service that's being offered in Bay County, Florida. And it was just ironic that the guy calls in. He goes by the Rock Rivers, but it actually is Neil the Highwayman Rivers. Give this guy a call. That's his real number. And he will talk to you about anything. He will talk to you about life. He will talk to you about country music. His disdain for Hank Williams Jr.
Oh,
yes.
blasphemy.
Wow.
Oh,
Yes.
golly.
And he will make up stories as obvious as he called up here tonight, you know, making up stories from things that didn't happen back in high
Is he
school.
as good a basketball player as he says he was?
In his mind.
Okay.
In his mind. And he thinks he still is. So tell Eli that Neil still has some eligibility left, so when they go to college together, Neil can show him the crossover that he showed up on me, that he says he showed me. But anyways, Neil is offering a service. You call him if you want to talk about life, want to talk about anything, and he's single too.
Oh, sounds like the whole package.
He is the whole package, and if you think he's not, just ask him. He will tell you that. And he will also rent you a golf cart too to come pick you up. Man, we have fun, don't we?
Man, I'm speechless.
Don't we
I don't
have
know what
fun?
else to say. I mean, I think we ought to end it on that high note.
And Matt Jones says he'll even sing to you too. And I've got video evidence of that also.
He's got a pretty voice.
That may be next week. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Y'all have a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you for putting up with me and Les's shenanigans. And same time, same place next week. And please be safe this holiday season.
Y'all have a good week.
Good day.